Good morning, class. This is your instructor. Today I'm going to be discussing the practical implications of job order costing, and besides the numerous other advantages that we have in this domain, the most important aspect is that the job order relates with the labor costs, the direct labor costs, the indirect labor costs, the manufacturing costs, and the fact that we have to close different heads of accounts into the final version of the product, which is the finished goods, and then we make the ledger of that so that we can encompass all the costs in that cost of goods sold. So finally then we can basically give this estimate to the client. So why basically we need to do some entries as well as to make ledgers is because we need to finalize the costs and then give an estimate to the client, and that is virtually for which we need the order sheets. And for order sheets, we need to make some journal entries. Now, in the previous lecture, I made some journal entries. I made the job order costs, and besides my, the other explanation regarding the practicality of these sheets, I verbally also and in person have been able to explain and shed light that we need to, basically record and journalize the entries. Now I'm going to be, besides this example that was on page 98 and 99 of Maths Industry, this is 7th edition, we need to basically understand this question, which is very important. It encompasses the entries. Now this is actually the exercise portion, and this is the problems section, and the question number is 5-3. Which would enable us to understand the journal entries and to then make the job sheets. So the best thing about this question is that it encompasses and includes both the job order sheets as well as the journal entries. So now if you just look at this question's 5-3 problem on page 108, it says Williams Incorporated had the following inventories. Now they have given you some opening inventories, and they have given you some 3 jobs basically, and these are for job 621, 622 and 623. So these are separate orders perhaps, and it has each job order has a separate line of costs, including material, labor and applied factory overhead. And like I told you, since we have to budget things, so we need applied costs, and this is the estimation of factory overhead in this case. So this is sort of like a job order sheet which is compact and summarized. So we will have to basically, complete this job order sheet, and then we have to, the following information is given to us in the form of journal entries A to L. Okay, so I'll try my best to do all the entries, but in case if they are left, so you're supposed to complete the rest. And the next question is basically your assignment, which is 5-4. It's always better to do the this example first in this chapter, because the example will shed light on some complicated entries that you might face in these questions. And then 5-4 would be easier for you to do. So this problem 5-4 is for your homework. And this 5-3 is what I'm going to be attempting in front of you. So we have the opening, finished goods, work in process and material. And we need to first of all take into account the entries. And I'll just stick up my calculator. Okay. So now, the first thing is that the job order sheet, which is given at the top, the work in process account controls 3 jobs. So there are jobs that might have some adjustments related to it. Sir, excuse me, please let me just complete my lecture, sir. So now you have 3 jobs which might have these entries, and these entries have to be adjusted in these jobs, okay? And the first part is A1. It says, so the entries, if I'm able to do all the entries, then you can perhaps process with the other steps. material purchased and received $22,000 terms n/30. So now n/30 basically means that after 30 days, this would be payable and has to be settled in cash. So now material purchased and received. Nowhere does it say that cash was actually paid for it. So you cannot automatically assume that cash was paid because it does not say it. So it was on account, which means that the payment was due on this. So when material is purchased on account, know that it is direct material. This is direct material for $22,000 and two accounts payable. Please refer back to my verbal discussion with you. Now part B says materials requisitioned. Okay, so this is a very important line. Requisition, this word means that they were brought from the store. So when your material is purchased, it has to be stored somewhere in a godown. Now this storage has capacity naturally of storing some extra material inside. And whenever you want to produce something, then you will order someone to get it from the store. So this process is requisitioning this material. And this requisition does not mean that they purchased it, rather they just got it from the store. So now in this case, they got it from the store and then for production. Now what does this mean? So they have already done the purchasing. Now they're going to make it into production, just bring it into production. So in this case, when you bring something in production, that means now the labor is acting on it. Now what kind of labor? This is going to be direct material. So there's going to be direct labor acting on this direct material. So we will debit the work in process. Now, as I told you before, that work in process can be for various jobs, and there can be 2, 3, 4 types of work in processes here. So now in this question, they tell you that this is for production of $21,000 worth of material, which was for production, and it has some or bears some labor costs. So of this amount, 2,400 was for indirect materials. Okay. So now whenever indirect material comes, like I told you that it will be associated with factory overhead. Then you can also debit part of it into factory overhead. So how much is that? Now 2,400 is rather for indirect material, and then you can have the remaining, as you can see. How much does that come to? So it is around $18,600 for work in process. And now to various jobs here, we have the difference was distributed to 5,300 to job 621, 7,400 to job 622, and 5,900 to job 623. And rest was for indirect material. So now I can show you 2 ways of doing the same entry. The first one would be a combined entry. So now you can have as, since this was direct material, so this was the combined work in process for job A, B, and C. Okay, so now A, B, C, 3 jobs, or you can maybe just maybe write it separately, since they're giving you separately. So then write that this is for A, B, and C. This is 5,300 to job 621, 5,300 job 621. Then this is job 622, and this is job 623, and this would be 7,400, and this is 5,900. Okay, it's 5,900, and all these add up to 8,600. Okay, so you simply add it up: 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, so 6 ones carried, and then 10, 11, and 18. So it's 18,600. And then you can have the factory overhead as well. separately as 2004. Now notice that this is all being debited to now. Okay, now the most important thing is for you to know we will not add when we are crediting the material, the contra entry that we are going to be making would not include the amount which is given to us for factory overhead. So this is going to be for direct material only because it has been requisitioned and labor is acting on it. So it's going to be about 18,600. Okay. Now this was that means some additional material was still in the store. And on the indirect material, I would say, because this was a factory overhead, so we can have indirect material, which is 2,400. So now you might just say that, you know, all this adds up to 21,000. Okay, so we still have out of the store, I mean, we had 22,000 worth of total material. And after that, we had 18,600 for the direct material because it was work in process. And then remaining was for factory overhead because it was indirect material. So you can just simply see that how we are distributed. On the other hand, we can also make a separate entry. Now I'm going to be teaching you how to make a separate entry, okay? So for separate entry, what you do is that you're not going to be writing the factory overhead here. Rather, you are going to separately mention, because this is just going to be separately written as work in process to direct material. Direct material for 18,600. And then you can have the second part of this as factory overhead account. Now this could be control account because this is what is actually being used. So when I say this control, the word means that actually now the expenses are being taken into effect as they actually are incurred to indirect material. But you don't, have to, or you can just simply add it as material account. Now it also depends upon if you are using the combined account version, then you can simply put it into material account. We have to notice like what the question is asking us to do. So if they are telling us that we make separate accounts, then we can simply put one material account here and then work in process this much and factory overhead. So that is the third option for you. And so now this was the 2,400. Okay. And then now this is the second way of writing this, okay? And the third way of writing this is, now I hope that you can understand whichever is easier for you. The third way of writing is that you just simply write material accounts and to material accounts. With factory overhead, $2,400 to, you don't write any direct material or indirect material, you're simply writing as material account of $21,000. Okay, so this is part B. Now, part C, let's just come to part C. Now, part C tells us that, okay, let me just rub this. It's occupying a lot of space. Or I can maybe shift to this part. So now I can shift to the third part, which is materials returned to the storeroom from the factory. Okay, now they have separately mentioned to you that materials that are returned, now they are not the same as requisition because you are not purchasing them, you are not requisitioning them from the store, rather now you are actually returning them. And in this case, when you return something to the storeroom, it means that now something was maybe brought in and then it was returned for lack of use, lack of demand, or it was not being utilized for production purposes. So for part C, now you have to start remembering these things. Okay, so now I have been given this at the start, some material labor applied to factory overhead, a job sheet. I'm also going to be taking these effects into the job sheet. We have to complete the job sheet with the entries. So at any, if you see the entries mentioning the jobs, that means that this job sheet is not complete and you have to add whatever is further expressed in terms of cost figures, you have to incorporate that into the sheet. So now the job sheet is, for instance, this is job 621, 622, and 623, and we have materials, labor, and FOH. So this was 2,800, this is 3,400, and this is 1,800, and this is 2,100. Okay, so this is the dollar amount is given, so that means you don't have to keep repeating the dollar amount. So one time is sufficient. I'm just rewriting it so that it just looks neat to me. And then 1350. And now again for factory overhead we have, now notice that this is applied factory overhead, okay? So guys, you have to be very careful about the wording here. If it is controlled, it means it's actual. If it is applied, it's expressed on the other side. So now when you are making a ledger of the applied and control, so you're going to be writing as factory overhead control account. And whatever the balance that you have, and you will write the applied here. Because this applied FOH is always closed into the factory overhead account. So if this side is heavy or light, it means that this figure is either greater. If it is heavier, that means that this figure is lesser, that of the control account, and or this. So now in the case where factory overhead control account, the actual figure for factory overhead is smaller than that of the applied factory overhead figure, then that would mean that this is actually overestimated or over applied, and this is subtracted from the cost. This is subtracted from cost of goods sold, subtracted from COGS, and vice versa. So now you can, vice versa means that now this is the other way around, it's going to be added. So that if the applied factory overhead is somewhat lesser than the actual, that means you have underreported your costs. So you're going to be adding this would be added into cost of goods sold figure because it's the final finished goods figure that you have. Okay, now the third option for which we are to notice the figures is 1,680. We have 2,160, and we have 1,080. Now they have given us a total here, but we have to further add values. I'm just going to be rewriting their total so that you can, identify with the book. Okay, so 6580. This is 8,260. And that's 4,230. Now further we will incorporate this entry. It says the jobs were for $5,300 for A. So I'm going to be writing a B, small b, which will indicate that B entry is taken, accounted for or taken for consideration to incorporate the changes in this job sheet, and this is known as the job sheet. Okay, this is the job sheet, and now we have 5,300, and this is 7,400, and that's 5,900. I'm not going to be closing it here because we have to incorporate further entries inside this. So now hopefully you can understand the concept of FOH control. Let me just rub this off. Okay, so now part C is Materials returned to the storeroom from the factory, $600, of which $200 was for indirect material, the balance from job 622. That means that $400, the $600 were returned to the store, $600 worth of material was returned to the storeroom, and out of which $200 were for indirect material, that is factory overhead. And the balance means that $600 minus $200, $400, that was regarding job 22 material. And so when material is returned to the storeroom, then work in process will again be credited and materials account will be debited. So materials account to it's going to be work in process, job 622, and this is FOH for $200, and this was for $400, and this was total $600. Okay, so now this effect will be taken in this top sheet, and you are to subtract from job 622 the amount of $400. Okay, so you just put a bracket here. Now it says the materials returned to vendors. Okay, so now this part D. What it's saying is basically that when you buy something from a vendor, then if you return something, then the original entry will be reversed in this case. So now accounts payable would be debited to materials account or direct material. So now if this is just material account and not direct material, then you can just simply write as materials account. Material, because it has, I think, both the direct material and the indirect material. They have not given us any provision for whether we are to treat the indirect material separately. Rather, we are to perhaps, they have not mentioned in the question, so it means that we are to add it or treat it as one. So we'll just write a materials account rather than say whether it's direct material or indirect material account. So this was for $800. Okay. Now part E. Okay, now this is a little complicated. It says it's just the same as the example that was done earlier. It was on page 99. We just refer back to it. And this says payroll after deducting 6.5% for FICA tax and 12% for employees' income tax was 3970. Okay, so it's very important for you to know. Now they have not given you the total payroll. So what the students normally do is that they would make the mistake or commit the mistake, or rather the blunder of multiplying the percentages with this figure of 30,970. And then this is very likely that they are going to be doing this. But remember, if they have mentioned that payroll after deduction, it means that this is now the figure for accrued payroll. It is not the gross payroll, because for gross payroll, you don't write after deduction. It is just inclusive of all the deductions. It's just like gross salary, the total payroll. But this is like net salary, the accrued payroll, when they say that after deduction, this is the value. So now, usually the entry that you make is payroll expense to FICA tax payable. FICA tax payable and income tax payable. Okay. So now, what do we write here? Because what they have actually given us is the accrued payroll value, which is 30,970. So now, how do you find out the value for this figure if we can't find out the value for this figure? But we do know, if I am to do the working here, and I'm going to rub it off then, we know that FICA tax is 6.5%. And they have given us that the income tax payable is about 12%. And this comes to about 18.5. sorry, percent is just 18.5%. Now this percentage, 6.5% plus 12% is 18.5%. Let me see, can you do this? Yeah, you can. So now you know that this figure is 18.5% the tax, and if 100% is the total amount, then after you deduct the tax, 18.5%. Okay, so now how much is left? 78.5%, right? Because, so this is like accrued payroll. After reduction of taxes from the 100%, and this 100% will be your payroll here. So for this purpose, what I'm going to be doing is that I'll be comparing now that if 78.5% is equal to 3970. Oh, sorry, is it 78? Maybe it's incorrect. Yeah. It's oh, sorry, this is 81.5. Sorry. 81.5%, and yes, so 81.5%. So now you're going to be, it's like 81.5% is equal to 3970. Then what is this 100% like? So the 100% would be like 3970 by 0.815, which is actually 81.5%. Now let me just calculate this, how much it comes to. This is 3970 by 0.815, and it's $38,000. So now this 38,000 will be here. Okay. I'm going to drop this working off. Now it's very easy for you to calculate the rest. So for $38,000, then you can have, what is the FICA into 0.065, 2470, and what's this income tax was 18.5. So sorry, it's 12% remaining. Okay, so this was total was 18.5, and then 12% you subtract for the FICA tax. Sorry, 6.5% you subtract for the FICA tax, and then you can have the 12% remaining. So it's 0.12 into 38,000, and you get about 4,560. This is the amount. You can just simply write it as 6.5% and 12%, so that you don't get confused. And this is 80.5%. Okay, now this entry is complete at the moment. Then we go for the next entry. Now notice that we have not been given any jobs at the moment, but this accrued payroll figure is very important for you, because in the next entry they are referring to it, and they are saying that of the payroll, direct labor represents 55%, and indirect labor represents about 20%, sales salaries 15%, administrative salaries 10%. So now before that, you are to now notice that we are also given the statement that the payroll amount due to the employees was paid during March. So before F, there's an entry. If they are telling you to settle this, that it was paid, then you debit this accrued payroll for the contra entry and then to cash, and this was about 3970. Notice we're not going to be reversing the whole amount, because you didn't get the whole amount. Actually, it was debited from your account. It will be given to the government authorities. So now of the payroll, now direct labor represents 55%. Now, so that means that F is basically with the work in process, okay? So 55% and indirect labor 20%, and sales salaries 15%, and administrative salaries is 10%. So whatever the sales salaries and administrative will not be included in the factory overhead account, because factory overhead would just usually have the factory salaries and would not have the sales salaries. So this will go into admin and marketing expenses. Sales will be taken for marketing, and the administrative salaries will be taken as such. And indirect labor was basically 20%. So how much does that come to about? So you can just simply find it out with calculation. So now let's suppose we have $38,000 of total payroll into 0.55. This comes to about 20,900, okay? So this 20,900 was basically the payroll, which was the total payroll that will be reversed is 38,000. But now all these will go into different heads. So first of all, I'm going to be rubbing this off. I'm going to be rubbing this easier and to be rather. Okay, so you can have the impact of, so now F states that we have the payroll first of all reversed, so I can just simply write for your understanding that payroll is 38,000, which will be reversed. And where is this heading for? Work in process? 55%, okay, so 55%. And how much does that 55% become? I just calculated, and it comes to about, so it's 55% of $38,000, and comes to about 20,900. Now it includes all the jobs, okay? This would include the jobs 620, 1, 22, and 23. They have also mentioned these, but indirect labor is actually 20%. Now let's just see how much is indirect labor. So out of the 38,000 into 20% comes to about 7,600, which is factory overhead, okay? So I'm going to be, so this is indirect labor. Now factory overhead would be, okay, so prior to that, there also, if you just look a little down towards the last line of this F part, it says that the direct labor was distributed to cost to job 21, 22, and 23. So now the labor cost, I will just simply rub this FOH. So I just write it a bit down. Right now, 621 was how much? This is 6420. 6420. When you add these three jobs, the result would be 20,900. And this is job 621. Now 622 is 8160. And 623 is 6320. Now notice we need also factory overhead, so I'm going to be writing factory overhead. Okay, I'm running short of space, so I have to rub this payroll. I'll have to rewrite it rather, a little lower than this level. So first of all, factory overhead is how much? It was, I think, 7,600. Yeah, it was 7,600. Now this was 20%, okay? I was writing the percentages for you, say. And then the sales salary were 15%. Okay, so now it says marketing expenses, marketing expense. So how much does this 15% become? Now let's just calculate this. 0.15 to 38,000 comes to about 5,700. So this is 5,700. Then we have the admin expenses, and this comes to 10%. So 3,000. Let's just find out that if it is 15% is correct. Yes, it's correct, 5,700. Okay, so now we also have the admin expenses. As you can see, this is 10% of 38,000, so it's going to be actually 3,800. So now this was 15%, and this will be 10% of 38,000. So it's going to be 3,800. To have to rub the next entry. I don't want to rub the next entry though. To payroll, okay? To payroll. And this will be, okay, let me just rub this because I've already taken the effects here. So I can rub this off. To payroll. And this is $38,000. Now this entry is complete actually. So now I'm going to be taking the facts in the job sheet at the same time. So this is part D. Oh no. D, F, sorry. This is part F. And this was 6,420 for this one. Then we have 8,160 for the next one. And we have 6,320 for the last one. Okay, so now the full effects have been taken in this job sheet. And this was essentially the F entry. Okay, I made a mistake here. And sorry, this is not F, this is E entry. Still, this is just the second part of the E entry. And this is the F entry. My bad. Okay, now I'm going to the G entry. So please be very careful about the job sheet. This is not a very conventional job sheet, does not have the dates and the department numbers mentioned, but like I said, that you have to be a little malleable and flexible when it comes to the problem questions that you might be facing in the exam. And does not have the usual, constituents that the job order sheet has, like the job numbers, but you have the information, you can simply write it down and total it. So now the G part was something like an additional 9.9% was entered for employer payroll taxes, and representing the employer's 6.5% FICA tax, 2.7%. Okay, so now what is this 9.9%? Okay, now first of all, we need to know how much does this become, because we need to, they have said that we have the FICA tax for the employer, and I told you that whenever it comes, when we talk about the employer, it's always factory overhead. But they are also giving us an additional adjustment, and they say that employer payroll taxes related to direct labor are charged to the factory overhead control account. So all the direct labor costs would also be inclusive in the factory overhead for the companies. And so this is how much for direct labor. And the direct labor was actually 55% of the total cost. And you know that some of it was given into salaries and administrative expenses, and indirect labor was just the other half. That was, in that case, it was 20%. And let's just see for the calculation at least how much does that become. For 38,000, we have the 0.99, so 3762. Okay, so now for a bit of working, to know that, first of all, I have to break this question into parts. It says that additional 9.9% was entered for payroll taxes, representing the FICA tax, the 2.7 state unemployment tax, and 0.7 federal unemployment insurance tax. So employer payroll taxes related to direct labor were also included in the factory overhead account. So first of all, we need to know what is 9.9% of 38,000 that has to be included in the payroll taxes. Okay, so this comes to about 3762. 3762 is just 0.099 into 38,000 to get 3762. And this will be actually the value that we'll place here with respect to overhead. Then we'll have the marketing expenses, and we'll have admin expenses. Okay, so now all this combined will be 3762, but at the moment we don't know which value to put for factory overhead because they have not as yet mentioned, because they just asked us that some portion of it was given to direct labor as well. So now FICA tax payable, let's just see how much is that. FICA tax payable. Okay, so now we know that administrative expenses were 10% and marketing expenses were 15%. So you can just simply write that out of the 3762, how much was the, naturally this was 3762, $6.2, because it was 10%, and the 15% comes to about 564.3. $564.3, okay? So you can just add it and then find out the level of what was this portion comprising of. Because you see, if we are to put everything in factory overhead, then it was just 20% of the total. Some of it was labor, as you can see from N3, F. Everything was not factory overhead, so we can't include the entire payroll as factory overhead. So now, when they say that additional 9.9% was given, so out of that 9.9%, we also have some marketing and admin expenses. So then we are also going to be adding that within this, inclusive of this, because they say that indirect labor, sales, salaries, administrative costs, they are just included besides the indirect labor. So now 9.9% will include these expenses as well. So we have marketing and admin expenses, and we will subtract this amount from. So now this was total was plus 376.2. So this is 940.5 minus 3762. So it's 2821.5. So now in this case, the factory overhead is 2821.5. This is the total factory overhead. And this is how much of the total 9.9%. Let's just divide it by 3762. So it's like 75%, okay? So the weightage is about 75% of the 9.9%, and this is just 15 and 10%. So this is 25%, this is 75%, comes to about 100%. Then FICA tax payable, okay, so we have to now calculate this FICA tax, and this is 6.5%. So out of the 762,065, so it's this, let's just see how much it comes to about. Okay, so now the FICA tax payable is 6.5% of 38,000 again, to make it into 9.9%. Okay, so this is, I'll just tell you the why, how does it come to about 9.9%. This is 2470, so it's 2470. Then we have 2.7% state unemployment taxes. 2.7 is state unemployment taxes, and that should be like out of for 38,000. How much do you calculate for? This is 38,000 into 0.027 comes to about 1026. So this is, ma'am, please, class ho rahi hai. So this is 1026. This is the unemployment taxes. So it's 1026. This is going to be 2.7% state unemployment taxes, right? And we have, then we can just simply calculate the remaining, which will be the unemployment. So what kind of tax? These are state unemployment taxes, and 0.7% is federal unemployment taxes. So it's 0.7 by 100 is actually 0.007 into 38,000, and you get about $266. So the federal 6.7% is actually federal taxes. Federal taxes are $266. Okay, now let me just recap this whole thing because it's just going to be very difficult for you to assimilate. Notice in part G it says that additional 9.9 was entered besides the entry that we did in the previous part. For part G it says that, so 9.9, first of all you calculate what is the 9.9% of this value. So then you come to know that this is 3762. So why did we do that? Because it says this will represent the FICA tax, the state unemployment tax, and the federal tax. So this 9.9, this 3762 would include all these three things. That means the addition of all these things will be 3762. So now when we directly, either we directly multiply the 9.9%, or we single-handedly multiply 6.5, then 2.7, and then 0.7, it would give you the same amount as 9.9%. So then you can just simply find out the 6.5 is 2470, 2.7 of 38,000 is 1026, 0.7% is 266. Okay, so now we also have to debit something to balance this thing because this is the payable. But they have told us that the factory overhead, everything for the employer taxes is to factory overhead. But now we also know that factory overhead was only 20% of the total payroll. And we need to find out as to what was the value of the factory overhead. So now we know that the 9.9% was actually 3762. And we also know that the factory overhead is just a small portion of that. So what was the factory overhead total amount? Let's just calculate it again. So this was, we have, so this is the value of 28215 when you multiply for directly for 75%. But now we don't know why it was 75. So we know that all of the value for factory overhead cannot be booked in with this figure, because we also had marketing expenses, we also had admin expenses, and we know that the direct labor cannot be added into factory overhead, and that was 55%. So we don't know the correct percentages of this, but we know that the marketing and administrative expenses are fixed rather than 10 and 15%. So when we add these sales salaries, 15% admin as is given in part F, we find out that this was approximately 564.3, 376.2, and the remaining was 28215, which was after subtracting these two from 3762. Okay. So now the next part. Okay. This is part H. I have to rub now these values. So now part H is relatively easy for you to understand, and part H says that part H is that factory overhead other than previously mentioned amounted to 5,500. Included in this figure were $2,000. Included in this was 2,000 for depreciation of factory building. Now you notice that depreciation expense is debited, but accumulated depreciation is credited. So in this case, accumulated depreciation is a provision. It's not a liability. It's a provision account against the factory costs. So I'll debit the factory overhead by $5,500, and that is the control account. Okay, so you have factory overhead control account. To accumulated depreciation, that was 2,000, and we had and 250 for expired insurance. Okay, so now when insurance is expired, the prepaid insurance, what was the original entry? When you give insurance in advance, it is your asset. So the entry at that time is prepaid insurance. Remember that prepaid liability is your asset. So prepaid insurance was any amount of, like in this case it's 250, let's just say that it was 252 cash, and that was 250. So but when you consume this insurance, because now the time period for which you paid the insurance is actually over, then you're going to reverse this by insurance expense to prepaid insurance. And I have to rub this so that you can just actually see this. Okay. So now the insurance expense to prepaid insurance is again 250 and 250. So now this prepaid insurance is actually cancelled out, and what is left is this insurance expense. Okay. So in order for this insurance expense, you have to reverse the original account, which is that of the prepaid insurance. So you are going to reverse this by crediting the prepaid insurance. And this prepaid insurance is around $250. Now, the remaining was unpaid at the end of March. So this is something like an accounts payable. Okay. So this accounts payable, since it's unpaid, would be the remaining amount, 2, and then it will be 750, so 2, so I think it's 2750. And you can just simply check also. This is 5,500. Oh, sorry, this is more than that. It's 3250 because it's $5,500. Okay. So let's just so this is the figure which is for control account. And now we have the next entry. Notice that we don't have any jobs as of yet, so we can't enhance our job sheet. And then we have the I entry, says factory overhead applied to production. Okay, as I told you before that when it is applied, it is always controlled into it is always closed into the factory overhead control account. So you are going to be debiting, first of all, there are two things. One, when it is applied, you will close it into the control account. Second is that you are going to close the factory overhead into the work in process, because if you see, it says the cost of goods manufactured statement where you have a manufacturing cost plus opening work in process, and then with manufacturing cost you also have the direct material, direct labor, indirect material, and then you have FOH, which has the utilities, insurance, taxes, heating, lighting, etc. So everything is closed into work in process, which is known as production, because it is what you're actually producing. You're in the process of production. So in this case, I'm going to be debiting the work in process to FOH. And they have said that 80% of the direct labor costs to be charged to the 3 jobs based on the labor cost for March. So this will have A, B, and C. And 80%, I'm going to be now 80%. What was the 80% for March? Let's just see now, March. Okay, so if you see entry F, it says the direct labor was distributed 6420. So this was 6420, 8160, 6320. So we are going to be taking the 80% of all these values, first of all. Now, so we have 6420 into 0.8 comes to 5136. Then 8160 into 0.8 comes to 6528. Then 6320.5056. So this was perhaps what they refer to when they say cost for March. Okay, so now I'm going to alright, this basically I'm going to be writing these values 5136, 5136, we have 6528, and we have 5056. And 2 factory overhead, what was the total amount? Let me just add this up. So we have 5136 plus 6528 plus 5056, 16720. So this work in process is debited by 1620 because all this work is actually closed from FOH control to work in process. Notice this is applied, it says applied. FOH applied in this case, because we don't have the actual figures for this. Then the last we have J. Jobs 621 and 622 were completed and transferred to the finished goods warehouse. So now we have to find out what were jobs 621 and 622. I have to make the total of these. And since this is incomplete, I am not going to be totaling this as of yet. And let's just total this 6580 plus 5300 plus 6420 plus 5136. It's 23436. And let me just add this one. Now we have 8260 plus 7400 less 400 plus 8160 plus 6528, and this is 29948. So they were completed and were forwarded to the finished goods section. I'm going to be adding both of them. 23,436 comes to about 53,384. So my IX is going to be which entry? This is IJ. So now this is going to be the JF entry, and it says that they were this is finished goods. Finished goods to work in process for 53,384 with respect to A and B, and you can just write it individually. What were the values? This is 5136 and 6528. So 5136 and 6528. And what was the value for finished goods? This was 53,384. Now, after the J part, first of all, so now the K has two parts. The first part is that we are going to be closing cost of goods sold to finished goods, because this is going to be 53,384, 53,384, and the second part is they are shipped with a profit of 40%. So you can just simply multiply this with 1.4. 1.4 is 74,737.6. So it is sales to account receivable. Account receivable to sales, perhaps because they have been shipped as of yet, right? And billed. Okay, so this is very careful. Be very careful in this, because it automatically doesn't mean that you receive money for this. Okay. So when they were shipped and billed at a gross profit, so this means that you got the accounts receivable to sales. Now accounts receivable to sales of, this was 74,737, 737.6, 74,737.6, okay? So you don't get confused with all these additional entries. Okay, this is the main entry for K. We have to first of all close the finished goods for cost of goods sold, because all the finished goods usually do not comprise of cost of goods sold. Then the total is that the profit margin is 40%. So it means that what I did was that I multiplied this. Either you just write 53,384 into 0.4 plus 53,384, and or you can just simply take this as common, because this is just multiplying it with itself. So I'm going to be taking this as common, this value as 53,384, and multiplying it 1 plus 0.4. So it's 0.4 plus 1 is 1.4. So it's 1.4, okay? So this is giving you this value, right? So you are going to be, okay, the next entry will be L part, which is basically cash to account receivable, because this is the contra entry. Accounts receivable, how much is that? Okay, so this is cash to accounts receivable 69.50. Now you're going to be making the ledgers as well. I'll be making one ledger and then you can make the subsequent ledgers. So let's just make the materials ledger, because That is relatively easy for me. Okay, now, which when you make the ledger, because it asked you to first of all make the job order sheets, and then journal entries, and then a schedule of inventories. Please. So now we have the ledger account for materials. Let me just make a ledger for you, because I think I'll be able to remember some of the entries that we did. And then looking at that, you can make the ledger for finished goods and work in process as well. So now materials account was opening, material is given to us for $14,000 as of March 1st. So opening materials, $14,000 for materials account. And then we did some subsequent entries. If you look at part A, we purchased material. So this opening materials plus purchases, just like we do in the cost of goods manufacturer statement. And you notice that some material was actually returned. And this was returned to the storeroom from factory, and 200 was direct materials in this case. So now, how much should you be actually returning? Okay, so when something is returned to the storeroom from the factory, it automatically means that this was, again, when we were actually putting it into production, this material was requisitioned from the storeroom and we credited the materials account. Now we're going to add back the materials. So this is entry A, and then we're going to be having entry C here, okay? So this was returned to store. This was not returned to the vendor, so it was returned to store. And this was 600. And since they have not separated the material account into material and direct material and indirect material, we will be just debiting this whole amount as $600. Okay, so now we have the last, okay, now this is the B part. If you look at this, it says material requisition for production, 21,000, of which 2 was for this, the difference was distributed. So when you requisition for production something, that means that material account was actually credited. And you can refer back to the entries. Since I have rubbed those entries, I have to, recall. So this was requisition for production. So material account was credited and work in process was debited. So I just write here, this was requisition for production, $21,000. And then materials returned to vendor, this I remember. So this was $800. So now this was $800. Now you can just simply add these things. Okay? So you can just simply find out what is the carried balance of closing materials. So you have 14,000, this would be closing or return material plus 22,000 plus 600 less 21,000 less 800. So the closing material in this case is carried down balance, which is 14,800. So in the similar pattern, you are supposed to do the work in process and factory overhead, and this will be brought forward in the next period, and this total comes to about, this total is actually, this is 14,000 plus 22,000 plus 600 is 36,600. So this was actually the balance, and this carried down will be brought forward for the next period. I'm going to be concluding my lecture here. You are supposed to make the individual ledgers for work in process and factory overhead, and also finished goods if you can. So I think it's just finished goods and work in process, or if it's possible for you, you can just make it for factory overhead the way I showed you to. And if you have any issues, then you can discuss with me in the next class when we have the teams class together, or you can just put it in the comments box and I'll answer. Thank you so much, class.